Welcome back to Voice Global. This is part of our Fireside chat series. This is Pete Erickson here, and my next guest is Mark Layden. Mark is the founder and general partner at VoicePunch VC. Mark, how you doing?
Doing great, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for joining us. I wanted to chat with you because VoicePunch is one of the newest venture capital firms in this market that really is exclusively looking at the voice tech space. Can you give us a little bit of background on how you made your way into the voice tech industry?
Sure. So Pete, I was an operator with a bunch of different startups in a bunch of different areas for about 20 or so years. Probably got lucky a few times with a couple different successes along the way. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to spend my time working with a range of different startups in different capacities. And that endeavor and involvement with a bunch of different startups led me down the path of seeing what was happening with voice and conversational AI. And I came about it because I was looking a lot or fairly closely at a bunch of different startups doing connected home type activities. And what was happening is connected home had been kind of a stodgy market space for a while, at least how I was seeing it in terms of what was happening and sell through and all those things. But suddenly the volumes and the activities really starting to accelerate. And what was happening was this device, this voice speaker had come on the market with Alexa and then Google, and it connected all these like I need my home using this smart device. And what became apparent was that the smart device was increasing and pulling through a lot more sales for all these connected home devices. But the interesting part for me really wasn't about the connected home. Turns out the really interesting part was what was happening with voice interaction within the home and then looking at it on a more broad basis. So I started to get really excited about it in 2018, started diving deep in the market, talking to every startup, entrepreneur, investor that I could find. And to be honest with you, there really weren't a lot of them out there at that point in time. And so I just kind of plowed our way through it. And finally, we just realized that this is really quite like a once in a lifetime opportunity. What was happening with voice and conversational AI technologies. And we said, let's jump in. And so we launched our beta fund in January 2019 and haven't looked back since.
Wow. Okay. And here you are. So you launched in January 2019, and can you share with us, how many investments have you made, and what are the plans for the fund this year?
Yes. So in our first 12 months, we've closed 7 investments. About half of them in the kind of the application space, at the layer where people are interfacing, whether it's apps or skills or whatever you're looking at, and the other in really infrastructure, because both are really important in terms of feeding the ecosystem. There's a lot of gaps in any new market space and things that, you gotta lay foundation. You gotta get highways to the stores. You gotta get cash registers. All those things have to be part of the successful ecosystem. And so that's kind of really some of the things we're really excited about is what's happening on the picks and shovels, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But also there's some application providers that we think are doing some amazing things. And what's happened really, I think, is relevant for today's state of the world is that we're all at home. And suddenly there's been this huge penetration in the home environment of smart speakers as one of the primary interaction models for voice. And the result more. And so we've seen earlier that our companies that have applications, their usage has gone up like this. And so we think the trends are all very favorable in terms of the market landscape and what's happening. And it's never a straight line anywhere. There's always ups and downs, but we're very excited about where we are and where we see it going.
So it's great to have another investor that's focused on the space. Since we've been, building community here for the last 5 years, the first 2 entrants were the Alexa fund and then the Google fund. How does VoicePunch, differ from kind of those 2 kind of incumbent players that have been investing in this place in this space for quite a while now?
Yeah, great question. And first, let me start with, Amazon was really early in starting the Alexa fund, and it's just a great group of folks over there. Mm-hmm. And they did an amazing job in really making available capital to help as one of those key ingredients when you're baking a new environment system. And so they were really happy with the work they've done to do that. And then Google came along as well with their assistant fund. And so they're really both the hardware providers for a lot of smart speaker ecosystems, but they're also the capital provider to make sure there's a lot of great companies really coming to fruition and getting that next stage of success. The environment and how we differentiate is both of those organizations are really, they're primarily, or maybe 50-50, you could look at it, focused on strategically, what are the areas we want to make sure we see startups and companies doing to help us round out this ecosystem, because they can't do everything and they don't want to do everything. So
Right.
they have a strategic focus and they have an investment focus, and those
Yep.
two kind of get mixed. As a institutional fund, we don't have that bias. We're 100% focused on making a return. So our number one objective is really to make sure that we are investing in companies only that we think have the potential to be in billion-dollar market opportunities.
Right.
So that's distinction, very close to it. Both those teams, we really enjoy them. We're co-investors with them, and I think it's very much a collaborative kind of environment at this stage of the evolution of the market.
Yeah, I think that's indicative of the voice space. It is a collaborative space. Everybody is interested in the growth of this community and making sure that it's healthy and that it thrives. And I think where we find ourselves now, in the midst of this pandemic, is just how important voice is to the building of the future of technologies, whether they're in our home, in our work, in our cars, in hospitals, education environments. We sort of have this renewed call. So I am so happy to know that there are more folks coming into this space to support that. Are there any? You kind of mentioned that you're looking at applications side and maybe kind of back end, maybe enterprise side. Are there any themes with regards to your fund thus far, or you kind of spreading out your bets a little bit and then seeing where the markets take off?
There are definitely themes. We've got this kind of market landscape model of these 7 different areas of focus for us. And within those, there's a bunch of different things. They cover everything from enterprise to consumer, different parts of infrastructure, things like, conversion technologies, transmission technologies, call centers and tooling. And so there's this wide range of things. And so the real trick here, as an investor, we believe, actually, as a strategic thinker, we believe that voice will be an interaction model available for all technology within the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. So that outcome we think is really exciting. But then as an investor, you got to pick and say, okay, that might be true, but some of these things are going to happen sooner than others. And so returns on investments are time-based. So we try and look within these 7 different areas or categories we've established and say, okay, what are the ones that are most likely or get to critical mass and launch velocity? And the truth is that they're not all the same. And so we're very excited about a bunch of different areas, everything from entertainment and hospitality even in this market environment. We're very bullish on some of the things that are happening in terms of new models for productivity within the office environments, whether it's building controls and such, whether it's productivity and taking all of our conversational activities, transcribing them and finding key insights. I mean, one of the things we're really excited about in the market space is that, today we have this repository of information that contains all of our emails, whatever email system we're in, so we can always go back and look for it. But what happens to the spoken conversation, and where do those go? What's changing now, and one really key aspect of our work lives, is that we're going to get much more comfortable with recording most of our conversations and transcribing them to text, so that later we don't suffer from the what was said in that meeting or that negotiation, or just, hey, remember that place we went to on the drive in our 2 years wherever we went, and suddenly like, oh yeah, I can go find that because I have this other data store I'm creating of all these conversations that we're having. So I think it's really a really exciting time because there's so many interesting applications that are coming about, and we're just there's no shortage of great opportunities. I only wish that we had billions of dollars to spend right now, because I feel like there's so many great opportunities. And the last point I'll make before I ramble too long, Pete, is that the thing that people don't recognize or think about until they're really deep in the space, it's not just a really US-centric phenomenon. It's exploding globally. It's huge. It's huge activity in Asia Pacific region. There's a lot of different interesting startups happening in Europe. We've got investments because we're not a US-only fund. We're investing abroad, both in APAC as well as London. So we're super bullish on where we are.
Well, that's great to know as well. We will be making an announcement relative to our international growth of our Voice Talk series. So we're excited about that. And of course, this Voice Global is a global event. And we are thrilled to be including folks from, well over 100 countries. And there is so much opportunity out there. I think that, that's probably one of the hardest jobs you have, is to kind of sift through all those various opportunities and then make the decisions. Like, how did you get to those final 7, right, that you've invested in thus far? Let me add too, Mark, that this is an opportunity to promote some of your portfolio funds. Do you care to share who some of your investments are?
Sure. Some of the ones that we love, I mean, we love all the ones in our portfolio. I mean, we have a gaming company out of the UK called labworks.io, who's doing some really innovative ways in terms of packaging up their kind of casual family games. We think it's super exciting, some of the progress they're making and kind of building up that market space. Another application company, Bamboo Learning out of Seattle. Great company. Ian Freed's doing a fantastic job, him and Marina. And their games but their content and their relationships with the ecosystem in terms of publishers and children's content is truly unique. So the value add to me, I think, is super exciting to see what's happening there. There's a company out of Boston, Voiceify, which I think is doing some really important foundational pieces of, if people want to have a big brand, wants to have a presence because they want to be where all their customers are, well, they need to be able to easily deploy on voice devices and not on one cloud. They need to be cross-platform. And so really, VoicePunch is doing an incredible job of solving that problem as large brands try to make sure they're everywhere that their customers are, because it's just something that's, as a brand, they want to control that message in all the different places. So there's a lot of other ones. We're about to announce a couple more we've just done. One of the nice things is that, because of the effect of COVID-19 on the world economy and technology in general, it's not an even impact. And so what's happened is that some organizations and people or investors are in areas that are really like, hey, we need to hold off. This is really a lot of uncertainty. Within the voice market space, we've been actively investing all the way through. We closed an investment 2 weeks ago, and we have another one that's going to close in about a week. And so we're excited now more than ever that they're moving forward, and we're seeing really good numbers across the portfolio. So yeah, it's good times.
Well, those are all great companies. We know them well. They're an important part of the ecosystem, and you are as well. We appreciate VoicePunch, and we hope that we hope that folks here at Voice Global will take a chance to get to know the company. If you're an investor, if you've got if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for funding in this space, definitely look them up. Can you tell potential entrepreneurs that are looking to raise money, how do they reach you?
So easiest way is just go to our website at voicepunch.vc, and there's a contact form. Reach out. We can't invest in everyone, but we certainly would love to know about you and what you're up to, because it might be one of the ones that just fits with our investment thesis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's most important advice is, if you are raising money, you've got to talk with a lot of investors, because it's got to be the right fit at the right time with the right opportunity. But I applaud what you're doing, Mark, and we look forward to following your progress. Tell us kind of what the rest of the year looks like for you, and what are the plans for 2021?
So the rest of the year, at least for the next several months, we're finishing up our raise on our next fund. So we're upping the size of both the amount of capital available, as well as the number of companies and the size of the checks we're going to write. So our plan is to finish that by the end of the summer, and then into the fall next year, will just be, plowing forward. I have to tell you, I've been around the block, as you know, a few times, Pete, and this is one of the ones where I've gold to be farmed, and I just really can't tell you how excited we are on what we're seeing today. The quality of the deals, the quality of the entrepreneurs, and the quality of our co-investors is going through the roof. And so, when we got in this is the beginning of 2019, we launched the fund. I got a lot of strange looks like, are you early? Are you sure this is the right time to do this? And we used to be really funny. We'd say this, funny responses like, hey, you know what? We don't know if we're early, but it's kind of hard to tell. But if we're late, everybody's going to know. So now what's happening is the market's moving our direction. So it doesn't go a week that doesn't happen where I talk to a different investor or other entrepreneur and saying, gosh, it's amazing what you guys are doing. And we're seeing, how do we get involved in deal flow, or what can we do to be a part of this? And so I'm super bullish, because we've seen it firsthand, and the companies already in our portfolio are already seeing some tremendous growth. So we know we're onto something amazing, and we hope more join us along the way, because it only does benefits for the ecosystem, as well as what you're doing, Pete. I think is a really tremendous service and the fabric and the foundations. We're excited.
Well, thank you. It's great to have you as part of this community. My guest for this fireside has been Mark Layden. He is the founder and general partner at VoicePunch.vc. If you're raising funds, go check them out. And Mark, we look forward to following your progress and the progress of your portfolio companies. And I hope you'll join us back here at Voice Summit in the fall.
Thanks, Pete. Love to.
Cheers.